Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you guys taking a few minutes out of your day to join me to talk about the customer journey and how we can build long-lasting relationships using Microsoft CRM. My name is Kevin Dupree. I'm the Senior Director of Field Operations. I'm joined also with me is Whitney Mahon, and Whitney is an account executive with our firm. She's going to be monitoring the panel as we're going through today's event. If you have questions as we're going along, we'll answer questions at the very tail end just to make sure that we can get through all the material within the hour that we have. But you can go inside the GoToWebinar panel. You should see a section called Questions. And there you can go ahead and type in a question, and we'll be going ahead and addressing those at the very end. If for some reason we're butting right up against the hour, I can assure you that we'll follow up with each and every one of you at the tail end, either via email or phone calls to make sure that all your questions are answered. I know that a few of the attendees on today's session aren't actually clients of ours, so let me just take a quick second to introduce our firm. We've been in operation for a little over 20 years. May was our 20th anniversary. Pretty excited about that. We have over 275 active clients currently in the United States and up into Canada. And as of this morning, I think we're actually at 77 team members and growing. We have offices in Los Angeles, on the west side of Los Angeles, and then also down in San Diego, very close to Legoland in Carlsbad. So that's real quick about us as far as our firm from a corporate standpoint. Obviously, we're here today to talk about how Dynamics CRM supports the customer journey. But beyond that, our focuses are around enterprise resource planning, or ERP, both on with Dynamics GP and some cloud-based products from SAP and NetSuite. And then a SharePoint practice, and then finally a business and development practice, or a business intelligence practice that can help get more information and help you to make a more informed decision using these solutions here. So let's get into the content today, and what we're going to do is we're first going to talk about the customer and the current journey that they're on, and how they're going along through this timeline, and then we'll focus on how Microsoft and Microsoft CRM supports the customer as they're going through the journey itself. So the journey that most of your customers, and perhaps you as a customer, go through, we see it in 5 kind of discrete phases or bubbles, like you see represented here on the slide. Awareness of your company, of your services, of your product. Moving that awareness, just because I'm aware of what's going on, I might not actually be ready to start using the solution. And so moving them from awareness to consideration. I'm going to consider to use your services or goods. Then moving into the trial, whether that actually is a try before you buy kind of scenario, or it's kind of dipping your toe in the water, where you're purchasing maybe one unit or a few, but you're not ready to really throw all of your eggs into the basket of that particular vendor. Or in the case of your customers, they might buy some samples from you, and then later on, provided that trial goes well, they start using it more. And what we're trying to do at that point in time is getting them using it consistently, those goods or services, and getting them to be loyal to you from a brand standpoint, that the experience that they're having either with your services or using your products is such a positive experience that they are then becoming advocates and telling others about your product. So let's look at kind of how things have been over time, and what we've seen is you know, early on in the stage of things, we have this age of manufacturing where the U.S. was automating through manufacturing lines and other types of things, and then we started getting into more of the distribution era through the 60s and through the early 90s, and if you think back, just it's 15, 20 years ago, the dot-com boom. The rise of the internet. There's not many of us that can actually think of a time that we didn't have the internet, where we actually went to encyclopedias or we went to the yellow pages. For some of the older folks out there, you might remember that, going to the yellow pages to look up a vendor and a vendor's phone number or address. With the age of information, because information is out there now, and customers are not getting their information directly from from your company and your salespeople, that information is just so widespread and available out there. We've really moved now this decade into what most folks are calling, in this case here, Forrester Research and independent analysts, is calling the age of the customer. And reason for that is our customers out there today know more. They know more about our products. They know more about our customers. How many of you use Yelp from a restaurant locator standpoint? And the restaurant might actually be a quality restaurant, but suddenly the customers that have gone there and eaten there recently are giving it negative reviews because the quality of service, maybe they had to wait a long time, or the food wasn't that good. It might be an excellent restaurant, but that could influence you actually going there or going across the street to somewhere else. They know about your competitors, and they have an ability now to compare and contrast your company with the competitors. And you're not able to control the messaging any longer. They're able to do that because they're able to search those things out there. And most people are pretty quick to post things on the internet about negative experiences and not so much about the positive experiences. So we need to make sure that the service that we're delivering, our employees and how they're interacting with each other and with our customers, that they're delivering top-notch service so that our brand is being protected, because the brand in the age of the customer is no longer what you say your brand is, it's what your customers actually say your brand is. And to quantify this a little bit about the connected world that we live in here, customers are connected people. All of us, for the most part. I would venture to guess that most of the people here, if not 100%, have access to information, and information on multiple devices. You look here, as 2.1 billion people are active on social media, and this is social media as a whole. So this is Facebook, it's Twitter, it's LinkedIn, it's those types of solutions that are out there. 3.6 billion of us are in the world are on mobile devices. So, I'm no longer tethered to the desktop computer that I have in my office or that I have at home. The information is readily accessible regardless of where I am in the world. The information about what's going on within the world, there's over 400 million tweets on Twitter a day about product, services, and brands. So not just, hey, I had a good meal at the restaurant down the street, but actually calling out that restaurant, or, in the case of a negative experience, what's going on there. And I haven't done the exercise yet, but I would venture to say that this 220 average times a day a person checks their phone, that might actually be a low number. I mean, how many of us are waiting for somebody to show up in a conference room for a meeting, and what are you doing? I'm looking at my phone to see what's going on. I'm checking email. I'm looking at what's going on Facebook and other types of things. It's kind of now just human nature to be looking at that device and seeing updates, and not just requesting updates, but having those updates pushed to us through notifications and little iPhone bubbles and messages and so on. Well, how does that relate to business? Well, 65%, you can see here in this infographic here, 65% of companies are deploying at least one social tool. Companies are using social media on a regular basis to get their brand out there and trying to get the messaging and the awareness of what's going on within their firm out into social media, because it's just something that now is just a requirement. You look at the rise of the social consumer on the right-hand side of the screen here. 44% of consumers today actually complain via social media about the experience that they had with a particular company or a product or so on. And the expectation out there is, if I tweet about a bad experience, the expectation of a lot of these people are that the brand, the company, your companies are going to be responding to that within an hour via social media. So think back to the 400 million tweets per day. About of that 400 million are people that actually expect you to respond to them. So how do you go and manage that without building an army of employees to be scouring the internet to look for these things? And that's really what we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, is the tool sets, the capabilities that Microsoft is bringing to the table to help you navigate this customer journey here, is going to allow you to be able to see what's going on and alert you so that you know what you need to respond to and when you need to do it. The last thing here, really bottom right of the infographic, is going back to what I talked about before, where you no longer control the messaging around, or exclusively control the messaging around your company, your product, your services, and how the customers evaluate and buy from you. An independent analyst says that customers are almost 2/3 through the buying cycle before they reach out to you. So what does that mean? They've already done a ton of research on who you are, what your products are, what other people are saying about your products before they reach out. So no longer do we have, in our case, our company, we're a software and consulting firm, we don't have people coming to us and saying, hey, I think I need something to help my salespeople manage their sales cycle better. They're coming to us and saying, I see that you guys sell Microsoft CRM. I'm very interested in that. And they're starting to articulate all of the research that they've done. And so now it puts us in a situation where we might have to change their opinion of certain things based upon the research that they've seen, or be able to pick the ball up and run with the sales cycle at that particular point in time. And so that it's really driving that companies are now having to change to the customer and then the way that the customer interacts with us. And if we don't adapt and adapt quickly, our competitors will get an advantage against us, because they will be able to capture that customer and be able to immediately start taking them further along within their evaluation, rather than making them take one or more steps backwards to try and tick all of the boxes, if you will, in your sales cycle. So let's take a look at engaging a customer using CRM today, and we're focused on Microsoft CRM, but we'll in this case here, you could look at customer relationship management as kind of as a whole. And really where Microsoft is taking the product is looking at what do we need to take complete care of that particular customer. We need to market to them a lot smarter than maybe we have. And if you're already doing this, great. You're kind of ahead of the curve there. But we need to enable that social media. We talked about that just a few seconds ago, about it's just a requirement now. And so how do we embed that into our sales process and our sales software and capabilities? That once they become a customer, when we're trying to move them along that continuum from trial to use to loyalty to advocacy, we need to make sure that we're taking care of them so that we can move them through that spectrum as fast as possible. And then the very bottom here, and this is kind of common sense stuff, the messaging that we use for one, it's not a one-size-fits-all market any longer for any of us. That our offerings, our interactions with our customers need to be personalized. An example of that is, think back a slide or two where I was talking about customers being 57% through the buying cycle. Well, a customer might be 75% through or only 40% through. We need to be able to recognize quickly where they are in the buying cycle itself of our goods and services, and personalize the approach, the interaction, the messaging to that particular individual customer. And then as we go along through that continuum to advocacy, the way that we interact with them, the way that we're taking care of them, it needs to be proactive. And the way that we do that is some predictive analytics. What's going on? Are we seeing a dip in the resolution of our support cases with somebody, or the customer logs a complaint with us, that we're taking care of that quickly, and we're looking at the trends so that if we're starting to see that a particular product, we're starting to see a high rate of calls of people calling in about a specific product that we have. Well, how do we figure out who else owns this product so that we can be proactive with them and let them know that maybe we have a defect and there's a service pack, or we're going to do a product recall and replace their stuff. We need to be proactive, and one of the ways that we can use software to help us to be that way is using the predictive analytics that are embedded in CRM today. So let's kind of walk through some of these areas and talk about them in a little bit more detail. So we're gonna talk first about social engagement. How do we get the message out there, and how do we listen to the messages that people are posting about us? And the world is shrinking. I don't know how many of you are working internationally right now as far as your client base, etc. But as you start to expand, if you're only here in the United States, as your company starts to expand and you're moving into markets where it's not English that's being used, the figures of speech that we use here in the United States, the language that we use, there's certain inflections in speech. There's certain figures of speech that mean certain things, and here in the U.S. we understand what these things are. Elsewhere in the world, that actually might be a negative, or something here in the U.S. that we believe a particular phrase that somebody uses, say in France, in French, when it's translated literally to English, we might find that that's a negative thing, but in France, it's actually a positive. So we need to be able to analyze the sentiment. And then we need to drive engagement. That 20% of the social people out there that expect some sort of response or interaction, we need to be able to drive that and drive that quickly. So one of the ways that Microsoft is doing that is with the CRM solution. There's a complete social engagement platform as part of CRM. There's social listening. And what that is the ability to go and look at the social media that's out there and analyze the sentiment. There's analytics, there's engagement, and then within CRM itself, a need to collaborate with internal people, your employees, maybe other people on the sales team, the marketing team, etc. And also might be external people. Maybe you subcontract out lead generation or so on. Being able to interact and collaborate with those individuals there. And so Let's take a look at these things in a little bit more detail. And while we're not planning on doing live software demonstrations, we'll talk about kind of at the end of this thing of meeting with you guys individually and showing you live working software to show you the sentiment and other things that are out there. So Microsoft, through social listening, allows us to configure what we're looking for in social listening. So what are the key words that are out there? Obviously, your company or your product, certain hashtags that are out there. You can kind of see in the screenshot of the monitor there just the top phrases in the tag cloud. And what Microsoft does with the product is, as we start seeing more and more tweets, in this case here with Twitter, that contain the word Microsoft, that word Microsoft starts getting larger. So from a visualization standpoint, the bigger the word, the more people are using that word within there. And who's talking about what? And are their messages positive, neutral, or negative? So these are the influencers that are out there. So I said we're no longer in control of what people, we're no longer in control of our brand completely. Our brand is what our customers say our brand is. And so there's a number of influencers out there based upon what they're saying about us, whether positive, negative, or neutral, that we might want to be targeting. So if we see that Alicante in the influencer screenshot there is kind of neutral to us, but we know that person and we want to turn them from neutral to an advocate, what can we do to help influence them? Some direct messaging to them, either through electronic means like social media and so on, or by kind of targeting that person with a kind of a concerted sales effort to win them over and help them see the positive experience of working with our company or using our product. And then alerting, being able to detect the trends that are out there, that 20% that expect something. So if it's negative and it falls into certain categories that you can configure, that it's alerting the appropriate people within the organization. So Microsoft has technology here that's kind of filtering through that 400 million tweets a day and looking for those specific keywords and other things, and then figuring out if what they're saying in their native language is positive, negative, or neutral. So a key thing to be able to leverage technology and not have to create this army of people monitoring the different social media centers or social media platforms that are out there. Talked about sentiment analysis. The key thing, and I said it before, is the fact that it's in the native language. So international business, no longer are these analyzers converting to U.S. English and then trying to figure out, is that a positive, a negative, or what? It's really looking at it within the native language and those figures of speech to determine if this is something that we need to be aware of, either good stuff or negative stuff. So let's look at the engagement side of things. How do we engage with these people on a social side? We can build stronger, longer-lasting relationships by getting our message out or interacting with our customers out there on social media. There was a study out there once ago where United Airlines was monitoring Twitter, and somebody actually tweeted at the check-in counter about their experience with the agent and how horrible it was. And before they even got to the gate, so they got through security and they got to the gate, there was already a direct message to that person offering them up some coupons and other things, and telling them that they were really sorry about what had just happened. And it was written from the perspective of this person about how that really turned things around, that they could have sat on that flight, going across the country for 5 or 6 hours and really continue to stew on that one thing that they had, or something else happens on the flight, and it continues to spiral or snowball, and by the end of it you're storming off the plane. I'm never going to fly these guys again, etc. And just by getting that one message kind of settled everything down and started to turn that person around from being very negative and a negative advocate to a positive advocate there. And we're able to do that not only, as I said before, with our customers and other people that are evaluating our products, but within our team. So we can engage each other. CRM itself has the social capabilities to be able to follow individuals in our organization. So if we have the lead salesperson and we want to follow that person and find out what he or she is doing and how they're doing it, we can follow them and get alerts as to what they're doing within the organization. What did they just close? What industry was that in, etc. We can have those facilities, and those are all just part of the solution, and from a deployment standpoint are very, very quick to deploy. And so what that allows us to do is, hopefully, most people don't invest in a solution to just kind of keep things as is. From a sales perspective, to be able to win faster, you're able to move people through the buying cycle as quickly as possible because you can find out where they're at and move them along from that point forward. You don't have to retrace ground that's already been done before you've come on in. And then we're able to also start marketing to people based upon what's going on. We're going to talk about that in a second there. And then we're able to also care for them after they become a customer, and we're moving them from that trial, use, loyalty into advocacy. We're able to do that by identifying these issues proactively and predictively. So let's go on to the marketing side. We talked a little bit about social. One could argue that social is a form of marketing, but we look at it as kind of across the entire customer journey. Social is just something that's embedded in every single thing. So in marketing, from a CRM perspective or from a business perspective, we want to build our brand. We want to be able to influence the customers and what they think about us, so that what they're saying about our brand is synonymous what we say our brand is. That we're able to engage where necessary in one-on-one relationships or one-to-many when we need to. And then we're also able to demonstrate the impact of our marketing efforts. We're able to show the results of different ways that we're marketing. In this case here, we're doing a webinar. What were the results of that webinar there? Is webinar, as far as what we're doing right now, leading us to adopting further clients or strengthening relationships with existing customers? Those types of things that are coming out of the marketing aspects of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And so from a solution standpoint, Dynamics CRM, the marketing aspects of it, really encompass everything that you're seeing on this slide here. That we're managing our resources, we're dealing with lead generation, nurturing people or companies along. We're doing so in a variety of different ways or different channels, and we're collaborating with the salespeople that are further down the sales process or the sales funnel, if you will, to adjust our approaches in marketing to be able to drive further business. And we're able to do that through the collaboration aspects, which I've been talking about, as well as, once again, that analytics, the predictive, proactive analytics there. So from a resource management standpoint, what are those types of things? Well, maybe one of the channels that you use as to attract customers is your industry has a trade show, or maybe several trade shows a year. Well, if you've ever been involved in one of those, you know kind of how much planning needs to go into actually executing a trade show. I need to reserve the booth space. I need to make sure that my collateral, my booth material, my presentations are all up to date. I need to make sure that the material that I need at that trade show is shipped in time, that it's received, etc. So budgeting and planning the costs of the campaign, or the trade show, excuse me, is one thing, but also managing the execution. You can kind of see on the monitor screenshot here that the calendar of events of what's going on, when is it going on, very project-oriented of what needs to happen, when does it need to happen, and also, importantly, who's doing it. Because it might just not be people within the marketing organization. It might be people in the operational side of your business, or executive management, or so on. So being able to plan and execute the various marketing activities that you're doing, and being able to look at those individually, like you're seeing here in this marketing calendar, and then also aggregate it on up. What does our entire marketing calendar look like across all of the channels, all of the different campaigns, all of the different activities that we as a company are doing? And most people are trying to do more with less. So from a marketing standpoint, how do we leverage our resources to be able to run more campaigns without having to build up bigger and bigger marketing teams? And one of the ways that we do that is through workflow. Alerting people when they need to do something or when they didn't do something, etc., and being able to have the system proactively watch for those things and nudge us when we need a little bit of help. On the campaign side of things, being able to quickly and easily design marketing campaigns, and across a bunch of different channels. You can see here, email, digital, through our website, through other things, through social media, and then also through traditional channels. Actually, I read an article a couple days ago about how mailing collateral material is actually starting to pick up now, and people are starting to see more success of sending pieces in the mail or some other creative ways. A friend of mine that's in the industry was sending out little keychains with a tennis shoe on it. And so you might think, well, that's really corny, but the message attached to that was, now that I got my foot in the door, let me tell you about my company. So the little drum roll, the ba-dum-bump type thing of, but it catches somebody's attention, and they were actually starting to get some calls back just because of the creative nature of what they're mailing out to their prospective clients. And that really gets into these personalized engagements. How do we work with people? How do we go about that? And from an email marketing standpoint, that's where we can start looking at what our target people are doing with our messages. Are they opening them up? Are they clicking on links? If they're clicking on a link, maybe it drives out a whole new message to them. Hey, I saw that you clicked on this link and looked at this web page. Let me send you some more information about what you're looking at that might not be readily available on our website, or maybe a little bit harder to find from a navigation standpoint. But that personalized touch of that interaction. Some customers don't like that. They think it's spooky because it's Big Brother watching me, and I don't want that. But then getting back to that personalized side of things, tuning the message up. So if we know this individual at this customer doesn't like that, let's turn that off and approach them in a different way. So what's the goal of marketing? It's to generate awareness, and hopefully that awareness then turns into leads. Well, just because somebody hit your website or just because somebody called in for some information doesn't necessarily mean that they want to engage with a salesperson at that point in time. Maybe they hit your website because they're in the first 57% of the buying cycle, but they have to do certain things in order to get to a point where they're ready for interaction with a person inside your organization. And so lead scoring comes in. You can build in, and this is all configurable stuff with a little bit of training. You could build in the ability to start adding points to a lead. So as they do certain things, download a collateral, look at a web page, do certain things, they build up a score, and at a certain score, that triggers the transition from marketing to sales, and a salesperson reaching out either electronically or in person or over the phone. And you can build that and just one of the key things about all of the things that we're talking about here is the system is configurable, and it's configurable by you. You don't need a ton of technologists in your organization or to have some firm like us engaged with you a long time. What we do as a company is teach our clients how to use these things, because these are tools that it just like a web page. If you put it up about your company and you never update it, it gets really stale. It starts dropping down from an SEO standpoint. It starts to become not as relevant about where your company is today. And so these are tools that you need to be able to continue to adjust or tailor to where your customers are at this particular moment, because what they were doing and how they were interacting, or how you were interacting with them a month ago, a year ago, whatever it might not be the same as how they're doing it today. And so you need to be able to continue to adjust these tools so that they evolve with the trends of your customers. I talked briefly before about collaboration. And this is somewhat redundant, but just kind of driving the point home of collaboration internally, as well as our external partners and suppliers and vendors, is embedded throughout the entire solution itself. So it allows for alerting, visibility, and then the enablement of the sales team. So when marketing is moving to sales, that there's some collaboration, and as it says, closing the loop. Nothing bothers our marketing department more to send a lead to our business development team and then not know if that particular lead's been contacted. Did we make contact? Are we moving forward? Or does it need to move back because it was kind of premature? It kind of hit some criteria, but the customer, when we reach out, wasn't quite ready yet. But being able to close the loop on that so that no prospective customer goes untouched and their needs unmet. And also, we talked about analytics on the social side of things. Information, knowledge is power, and being able to visualize that information is so important. So, sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm trying to hold back a choking, and I don't want to choke into the microphone with you all here, so give me just 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Being able to visualize that information in a way that's meaningful for the reader. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the monitor there, you see some pie charts, some heat map stuff, but also kind of behind a couple screenshots is some numbers. Certain people are number driven. I want to see columnar information with numbers, facts, figures, etc., because I want to be able to look at each and every detail. Other people just give me the highlight reel and do so in a visualization that I can look at it, and without going into too much time and detail, I can see what's happening. And so that visualization tools satisfies all of the consumers of this information throughout your organization and throughout your customers' organizations as well. So let's talk about the sales cycle. We're moving from marketing into sales. What do we want to do? We want to zero in on what they're looking for from us, and we want to do that quickly so that we can move them through, win them faster, and by doing that, we tend to sell more. Either sell more deals, or there it is, or sell more to our existing customers. And so Microsoft does that in a variety of ways to help empower our sales team. They do that through monitoring and managing accounts and opportunities. Collaborative selling. We've talked about the collaboration and the social aspects internally. And we know that our sales team, just like our customers, are not necessarily always sitting at a desk. They're out in the field. They're in a car. They're meeting a client for lunch somewhere. The solutions today, the information today, has to be mobile enabled. And it has to allow us to effectively plan and manage the relationships that we have with these customers and be able to monitor where they're at within the cycle itself. So one of the things that Microsoft is doing is actually solving a couple of the needs. Besides the sales management, account, and opportunity side of things, it's leveraging the Microsoft Cloud, the Office 365 Cloud, to allow that information to be readily available wherever the person is within the world. Office 365, it's a complete suite of products. We're not going to go into that today. There's information on our website and other things out there to help you evaluate that. But one of the components of Office 365 now is Microsoft CRM. And so by doing that, what that allows us to do is a couple things. It allows us to deploy a solution quickly. And one of the examples of that is in systems of the past, you'd have to purchase hardware, or your IT people would have to allocate hardware or something to install the application on and everything else. Office 365 and Microsoft CRM, within a couple minutes, you can go from saying I'd like to evaluate this on a 30-day trial basis, and a couple clicks off of an email that's sent to you automatically, you're in the solution, you're starting to play around and experience it. Or I'm sold on CRM, I want to do this. The same process where your environment is provisioned within a matter of minutes, and you're starting to work through the process of personalizing it to your specific company's needs. The other piece of this in the monitor screenshot there is this guided processes. So how do we figure out where the customer is within the buying cycle, and how do we take them from that point forward to the point where they're actually signing contracts or they're purchasing from us? And so guided process allows us to configure a set of questions for our salespeople to be able to ascertain where the customer is, and then move them to the particular stage within our sales process so that we take them from there. It's also something that we've seen with our customers that enables new salespeople to the organization to ramp up quickly on the process itself, because it's guided. The solution kind of works through and helps them to close more business and not miss a step because all of those things are configured on in there. And then from an insight standpoint, being able to look at what's important to our customers, rich data about what our customers have done, what they're considering, maybe things that we have in the sales pipeline, and it's all the way back to what are they doing from a marketing perspective. Just because they're an existing customer and we maybe have some open opportunities that we're talking to them about, to purchase our goods or services, we're still kind of trying to keep them aware of what's going on with us and so on. And besides that, we also want to know what's going on within their organization. So just like our customers are researching and everything else, we need to be looking at what's going on with them. Maybe they just had a big round of funding, and they have a lot of cash now, and some of those projects that you talked about doing with them in the past where it's been kind of delayed because they didn't have the capital available to do that. How do we know what's going on? Well, a lot of information is out there in social media, LinkedIn and other things. Microsoft has a relationship with Inside View. It's actually embedded inside the solution itself, where it looks at who's who within an organization, what's going on in the news about that particular company, and you can configure alerts around that to alert you when certain criteria or certain things happen about your customers. So once again, you can kind of proactively approach a customer. Hey, I saw that you just raised $100 million through a third round of funding. That's fantastic. Should we be having a conversation about this project that you've been wanting to do, been kind of delayed? So most of the time, those interactions are actually well received because it shows that you care. It shows that you know who they are and what's going on within their organization, and all of that once again is proactive. In your case, the system can alert you when those conditions occur. And then looking at it from a planning, a performance standpoint, the visualization tools, and you can see a lot of representation out there. What's going on within the organization? How are we winning deals? What industries are we working in? What areas of the world are really kind of hot or cold, as the case may be? Because that's also going to be where we put our efforts in. Why did suddenly in the southeastern U.S. did our sales kind of drop off? They've always been a top performer. We can start looking at those details and then start taking corrective action so that we can get those things back up to where they need to be. Or we see a trend that a certain product that we just launched is really hot in a certain industry. Well, who else have we not talked to that's in that same industry, and let's start approaching them. Those are the types of things that we're seeing from a management and a planning perspective, etc. And then on the collaboration side of things, the one thing that I didn't talk about before is embedding. It used to be called Link. There's still some people that are out there that are using Link, but now Skype for Business, the ability to interact and communicate with one another, either in the organization or with our customers through the use of instant messaging, video conferencing, or even voice over IP integration there. We're kind of shrinking the world and connecting people within the organization and within our supply chain. Oops, I think I went backwards one side. Sorry about that. And then, as I said, our folks are around, out in the field, working with our customers, maybe working from home. There was a statistic on an infographic about the number of people that work from home. And knowing that we need to be able to still interact in a rich way with the solution, regardless of what device we're using. So Microsoft, probably 18 to 24 months ago, kind of saw the error in their ways, in my opinion, of not everybody's going to use Windows. Not everybody's going to use Internet Explorer. So we need to make sure that the tool set is device and browser agnostic, so that the application interacting within Internet Explorer versus Safari on an iPad, that the same experience is there regardless of what device or what browser they're using. And then because it's Microsoft, have a rich seamless integration. Not even integration, it's just part of the solution itself with Outlook, so that when we're emailing, we're tracking that information against our accounts, our opportunities. When we have appointments, those things are tracked. All of these things that are going on are automatically there, and we can seamlessly work with the solution from Outlook and have all of that information out there and available for our entire organization. And I won't beat this up too much, but once again, reporting and analytics is key to the solution. Just because we can store all this information, these interactions and everything else, if we can't use that information to help us to drive more business or drive customer loyalty, we've put a lot of investment in that, and we're not going to get the biggest return that we can. So huge, powerful analytics, not only within the solution itself, but through tools like Microsoft Power BI, etc. And then within most organizations, just because we've sold the services or we've sold the product, we still have an obligation to service that customer, to make sure that the products that they purchase are working properly, and if they're having trouble using them, that we're helping them with that. And we need to do that with our customers to earn their loyalty, to move them to advocacy. And we also need to help our people care for our customers in a way that makes it easier for them to do that, and so that ease of the experience comes through the phone line or comes through the emails that are going out there, that shows the customer that the agent that's out there helping them really cares and wants to help them. And staying agile, making sure that we're constantly evolving those things. The service aspects within CRM, you can see Cross-channel, self-service. I don't know about you, but if I have a problem with something, I don't necessarily want to call into a call center, especially if I have to go through a phone tree and sit on hold for a long time. If it's something I could fix myself, or I just need to be aware of how to configure it or something, I want self-service. I want to be able to take care of the thing myself. And sometimes also on the intelligence side, have somebody proactively email me, hey, there's a problem with your device, you need to do the following to take care of it, because I might not even have known. So all of these things, as we've seen before, you've kind of seen these squares before about personalized, proactive, predictive. That's a trend throughout the entire solution itself. So the personalized interactions, consistent. How many of us hate to log a support request and have the agent say, I'm going to get back to you, or I'm going to send you that information, and then they fail to do so. So we want to make sure that that we're having consistent messaging, that the messages from one customer to another are the same, but that we're also kind of following up and making sure that we're taking care of it and working everything through resolution. One of the ways that we help empower agents is through an agent desktop, and what that means is the way that I look at servicing my customers, I may want to move things around into different areas because my eye kind of catches certain things, or the way that my desk is set up. I want my open cases in one area. I want some other information in another area, allowing the agent to actually personalize their interface so that it's intuitive to them, so that they can help customers faster and easier, but not doing in such a way that causes the administrators of the solution itself horrible nightmares of trying to resolve all of these different desktops out there, but doing it in such a way that from a technology perspective we can give that individual personalized experience to the agents, just like our customers, and still continue to update and evolve our solution as we're going along. Mobility, we've talked about it throughout the entire system there. And then from a self-service standpoint, the ability to allow a customer that has a problem with our solution, or a particular issue that they need to open up a support ticket, to start in opening up that support ticket, but as they're starting to type in their issue, as they're typing it, the behind the scenes, that web interface or whatever it might be is actually searching through the knowledge base of other things that might actually resolve their issue. Microsoft and others call it deflection. So rather than open up a case, we might be able to help them and service them as they're going through the process of opening up that ticket by just surfacing up or showing them related knowledge base articles or popular topics or things like that. And what we've seen is by using that, the caseload that comes on in is reduced because the customer's getting what they need through that deflection process, and the customer itself, from an experience standpoint, they're happier because they got their problem resolved quickly. They didn't have to log that ticket and then wait for somebody to call them back or email them back. They were able to handle it themselves. And if for some reason the things that are surfaced up through the deflection features that are part of this don't answer their question, well, they didn't waste any time. They've already started the process of opening up a ticket. They're just going to finish it up and submit it. So we're not asking them to search to see if there's a solution out there and then open up a ticket. All in that same flow, they're opening up a ticket and seeing these things. And that's that embedded self-service that's out there. And allowing them to do that regardless of where they're at. I got a problem with the headset that I'm using, and I'm out in my car. Well, as I stop in a parking lot, I might, from my iPhone, start working through trying to figure out what the problem is, or opening up a ticket with the vendor. So, those types of things that are out there that are part of the service aspects and the analytical capabilities and other types of things that we see on out there. So I'm just showing you a few different screenshots and things like that that we have out there. You've seen a lot of that as we're going through. Hopefully, one of the things that you're seeing from an intelligence and from an analytics standpoint is consistency. So the people that are working in marketing or the social monitoring or the sales or the service aspects are seeing consistent analytics. And what that allows you to do is, because the tool set is consistent, if for some reason I'm working in the service area of the business, but I'm having problems because I want to create a new report or a new dashboard of certain things, but I don't remember how to do that, well, I don't have to lean on other people within the service organization. I can go to my marketing department. I can go to my sales department, because the tool set is exactly the same. There's a larger population of people within each organization that can assist me with my particular needs. So in closing here, I'm going to see over here if we have any questions at all. I've been kind of talking through and looking at the slides, so I haven't really looked to see if there is any questions out there. So let me pop open this panel. Or Whitney, have you seen anything come on through?